Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin.
On the advice of his sister-in-law and mother-in-law, the husband took out loans for $150,000 and at that same moment filed for divorce. "Haha, idiot, now you'll pay back half," he declared, laughing in court. But when the judge began to speak, the husband became whiter than the walls. Before we begin, I'll ask you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much and enjoy listening. Christina was closing the last client file when an incoming call from Adam blinked on her phone screen. The third month of their married life was coming to an end, and she knew it was time to put her carefully thought-out plan into action. The prenuptial agreement had been lying in the desk drawer for a week already, waiting for the right moment. "Listen, my colleagues here are saying that now at our firm it's mandatory to have prenuptial agreements," she casually mentioned in the evening, laying out documents on the kitchen table. "New partnership requirements. If an associate works with major clients and doesn't have an agreement with their spouse, it can create liability issues." Adam raised his head from his tablet where he was watching a football game. "What kind of agreements? We're already married." "This is different. A legal formality. Like insurance for both of us." Christina took out from her briefcase a folder with documents about the high-profile divorce of a prominent businessman, where the wife received half of his business debts. She had specifically asked a colleague to bring copies from the firm's archives, left the materials in the most visible place on the table, as if by accident. Adam skimmed the article headlines. Wow. The poor guy was left with nothing, and she even got stuck with the debts. Exactly. That's why we should protect ourselves. I've already prepared everything. Just need to sign. The next day, when Adam was rushing to meet friends, Christina took out the crucial folder. In the contract, among the standard clauses about property division, one seemingly insignificant provision was buried. In the event that either party during the marriage incurs financial obligations without written consent of the other party, such obligations shall be deemed individual liabilities and shall not be subject to division upon dissolution of marriage. "Let's quickly sign this, and you can go meet the guys," she urged her husband toward the notary's office. The notary, an elderly woman with a tired demeanor, monotonously read through the contract provisions. Adam nervously checked his watch, shifting from foot to foot. The meet-up with friends was starting in an hour, and they planned to go to Mike's cabin. "Can we speed this up somehow?" he interrupted the reading. "I get it. I agree with everything." "Mr. Thompson, the contract needs to be read carefully. It's all good. I trust my wife. Where do I sign?" Christina barely restrained a smile. The first trap had snapped shut. The following months passed in the usual rhythm of a young married couple. Christina immersed herself in work on a major project restructuring debt for a manufacturing company. Adam received a promotion to senior account manager at a distribution company and now oversaw building supply logistics. His salary grew to $5,000 per month, which allowed him to feel confident, but the calm didn't last long that on a spring Saturday morning of the second year of marriage, a white luxury SUV pulled into their driveway. Elena, Adam's sister, gracefully stepped out of the car in an expensive leather jacket. Christina watched from the window as her sister-in-law adjusted her hair and took several shopping bags with designer logos from the trunk. He the dinner table. Elena put on quite a show. She casually laid her car keys on the table, a new iPhone in a gold case, and a stack of documents. "Little brother, you should see how things have taken off." Her eyes sparkled with excitement. "Remember I told you about my real estate investments? Here's the result." She took out her iPad and began showing apartment photos. Stylish interiors, floor-to-ceiling windows, modern appliances. "This is my two-bedroom condo downtown. I rent it for $2,800. And this three-bedroom in Midtown brings in $4,200 monthly. I'm already buying my fifth property." Adam looked at the photos with envy. "And how much did you invest initially?" I remember every penny. I got the first condo with an FHA loan, rented it out, covered the mortgage with rental income. A year later, I'd saved up for the second. Now it's like a snowball. Money makes money. Elena demonstratively took out a thick envelope from her purse, from which $100 bills peeked out. Oh, I completely forgot to deposit this. Yesterday, my tenants paid 3 months in advance. The envelope accidentally slipped from her hands and scattered on the floor. Adam helped collect the money, unable to hide his admiration. You're like your own bank. Where do you find such reliable tenants? Networking, little brother, networking. I've built up a solid client base over the years in property management. People trust me, refer their friends. Christina silently observed the performance. Her professional legal instincts suggested something wasn't right here. Too smooth, too perfect. She knew real rental market rates and understood that such income from 5 properties was questionable in their metropolitan area. Elena seemed to sense the skeptical look from her sister-in-law and decided to seal the deal with evidence. Want to see my bank statements? She took out her smartphone and showed screenshots of a banking app with impressive deposit amounts. Adam studied the numbers with reverence. Incredible. And I'm here struggling for a measly $5,000. So get into real estate, Elena encouraged. I'll teach you everything. You just need starting capital. Where would I get starting capital? The sister-in-law looked meaningfully at Christina. Well, you're married now. You can pool resources. Christina makes good money at the law firm. All our money goes towards saving for a down payment on our own place. Christina answered calmly. Ah, Elena drawled with slight disdain. Saving. While you're saving, the market keeps going up. Property values are rising faster than you can save. After Elena's departure, Adam walked around sullen all evening, calculating something in his head. Christina felt how a dangerous idea was taking shape. Maybe she's right, he finally said. Maybe it's worth taking the risk. What kind of money does she work with to buy a property every year? Christina carefully inquired. Well, the down payment is about 20% of the purchase price for a condo. That's maybe $80,000, and the rest is bank financing. But if the property goes to rent immediately, the payments cover themselves. Christina didn't argue. For now, it wasn't worth openly opposing her husband's plans. Better to wait until he either became convinced of the venture's impracticality or until Elena revealed her true intentions. Elena decided to show her hand just a month later. The call caught Adam at work in the middle of the day. I urgently need your help. Elena's voice sounded stressed. I'm having temporary cash flow problems. What happened? Tenants broke their lease unexpectedly, and my mortgage payment is due tomorrow. Can you lend me $5,000 for a couple of weeks? $5,000. Adam's entire monthly salary. Such money wasn't readily available in their household. Elena, I don't have that kind of cash. How don't you? Christina makes lawyer money. I don't know. I'd need to talk to her. Adam, time is critical. If I miss this payment, the late fees will be astronomical, and I have a major closing in 2 weeks. I'll pay you back immediately. That evening, Adam asked his wife for a loan for his sister. Christina asked several pointed questions about the nature of the difficulties and repayment timeline. The questions sounded so professional that Adam became defensive. What? You don't trust my sister? It's not about trust. $5,000 is serious money for our budget. I want to understand the risks. What risks? She's successful in real estate. If she's so successful, why doesn't she have emergency reserves? Adam couldn't find an answer. He had to call his sister and decline. Elena accepted the refusal graciously, but hurt undertones crept into her voice. It's okay, little brother, I'll figure something out. It's just disappointing when family doesn't support you in tough times. This conversation became a turning point in Adam's attitude toward his wife. He began noticing how Christina seemed to slow down his initiatives, how she was overly cautious where bold action was needed. Meanwhile, Elena continued demonstrating success. A week later, she sent photos from a luxury car dealership. Upgrading to a more prestigious model. Business is expanding. Got to project success. Then came shots from a rooftop restaurant with city skyline views, celebrating the purchase of property number 6. Monthly income just past $20,000. Each message from his sister triggered Adam's envy and dissatisfaction with his own life. Christina watched as her husband gradually distanced himself, becoming irritable and dreamy simultaneously. And in summer, her mother-in-law joined the campaign. Patricia Thompson had always been an energetic personality. A retired high school math teacher, she stayed current with everything happening in her suburban neighborhood. So when a new resident moved into the townhouse next door, an energetic middle-aged woman named Jennifer, the introduction happened within days. Jennifer proved to be an engaging conversationalist with many interesting stories. She talked about her entrepreneur son, who at 30 already owned a chain of quick-service restaurants and was planning business expansion. Can you imagine Patricia? He started with just one location. The neighbor gushed over coffee in Patricia's kitchen. He bought a franchise from a national chain, opened the first restaurant. Within a year, he'd recouped his investment and opened the second. Now he has 5 locations running. And how much capital did he need initially? Hardly anything. The franchise fee was only $45,000. The rest, equipment, lease deposits, build out, all financed. Banks are practically throwing money at food service businesses these days. Patricia listened intently, mentally calculating her son's financial capacity. Are the risks significant? What risks? Jennifer seemed surprised. Quick-service restaurants are the most stable business model. People always need to eat. The key is location selection and marketing. That evening, Patricia called Adam and invited him over for coffee with his wife. At the table, she enthusiastically retold the success story of the neighbor's son. What an accomplished young man. At your age, he's already built wealth, and you're still working for someone else. Adam perked up noticeably. How much investment does something like that require? Jennifer said less than $200,000 total. Franchise fee plus startup costs. Christina became alert. The figures Patricia was citing seemed suspiciously optimistic. Patricia, did this young man personally discuss his financials? Well, Jennifer shared what he told her. She's his mother. She knows everything. Maybe it would be worth meeting him directly, getting details about the business model. Patricia's lips tightened. Christina, you always find reasons to doubt. While you're analyzing and questioning, other people are building businesses and creating wealth. The following week, Patricia brought her son a clipping from the local business journal. The article was titled, "Young Entrepreneurs Making Their Mark," and profiled several successful business owners under 35. Look at these go-getters, she pointed at the photographs. This one is 28 and owns a chain of car washes, and this one at 32 is already on the city council. Franchising, technology, logistics, all growth sectors. Adam studied the article with growing interest. The young faces in the photos radiated confidence and prosperity. Designer suits, high-end watches, impressive office spaces. Maybe I should explore this too, he mused aloud. Absolutely, his mother agreed. You've got brains and sales experience. What makes you different from them? Christina suggested first researching franchise opportunities, analyzing the competitive landscape, and evaluating realistic returns. You always overcomplicate everything, Adam snapped. While we're analyzing, someone else will grab the prime territories. Let them grab it, his wife replied. And if those territories turn out unprofitable, better they take the loss than us. You just don't believe in me. I believe in your abilities, but I don't believe in get-rich-quick schemes. Patricia threw up her hands indignantly. See, son? Your wife is clipping your wings. With that attitude, you'll never accomplish anything. After this conversation, the household atmosphere grew noticeably colder. Adam began staying late at work more frequently and spent weekends at his mother's house. Christina didn't interfere. Instead, she used the free time to focus on particularly complex cases. She understood the situation was unfolding according to a predictable script. Elena had created an illusion of easy wealth for her brother. Patricia reinforced this illusion with stories of other success. Now it was just a matter of waiting for the next move. The move came at the beginning of their 4th year of marriage. Elena arrived at her brother's house in a state of extreme excitement. The day before, she'd met a representative from a major franchising company at a business conference. He'd explained the opportunities for opening quick-service restaurants in their metropolitan market. Adam, this is our moment, Elena's eyes blazed. The market is wide open. Minimal competition. We could build an entire chain within a year. What kind of investment are we talking about? Practically nothing. Franchise fee is $40,000. Another $30,000 for equipment and build-out. Total, maybe $70,000. I don't have $70,000, but you have good credit and steady income. Banks are practically begging to finance food service ventures right now. Christina attempted to join the conversation. What about realistic profit projections? Do you have actual financial models? Elena shot her sister-in-law a dismissive look. Financial models. When someone's drowning, they don't calculate water viscosity. They swim to shore. But still, Christina began. Let me have a proper conversation. Adam sharply cut off his wife. Elena smiled triumphantly. The wedge in the enemy household was deepening with each encounter. I'm prepared to be your business partner, she offered magnanimously. I'll invest $30,000 of my own money. You handle the $40,000 financing. We split profits 50-50. Are you serious? Dead serious, little brother. We'll create a family enterprise. Imagine, in 5 years we'll have restaurants throughout the metro area. Adam was already visualizing himself as a successful entrepreneur. Luxury car, executive office, respect from peers and acquaintances, and most importantly, financial independence and the chance to prove his wife wrong. Christina observed from the sidelines, understanding the trap was nearly sprung. She just needed to wait for the final decisive step. And she did. A week later, Adam announced to his wife his firm intention to open a restaurant in partnership with his sister. Christina listened calmly, neither objecting nor supporting, simply nodding and wishing him success. Such a reaction surprised and slightly disappointed her husband. He'd expected either fierce resistance or enthusiastic endorsement, not indifferent acceptance. That's it, he asked. What else? Well, you're a lawyer. You could help with contracts and legal stuff. You and Elena seem to have everything handled. Why complicate things? Adam sensed something was off, but couldn't articulate it. His wife was behaving strangely, too easily agreeing to a decision she'd previously opposed. Meanwhile, Christina was mentally counting down to the activation of the key prenuptial agreement clause. Her husband was about to take on debt without her written consent. This meant all financial obligations would automatically become his individual responsibility. The trap was set. Autumn rain pelted the windows of the bank office as Adam nervously shuffled through paperwork in the loan officer's waiting area. The 5th year of marriage had brought unexpected developments. Work was going well. His salary had grown to $60,000 annually, and dreams of business ownership had completely consumed his thoughts. Loan officer Sarah Martinez, an experienced professional with a sharp eye, reviewed his income documentation. Mr. Thompson, you're requesting $50,000 for business development. Tell me about this venture. Quick service restaurant franchise. I already have a partner with food industry experience. May I see your partner's documentation? Adam handed over the folder Elena had prepared. His sister's income statements looked impressive. $25,000 monthly profit from real estate portfolio. Very impressive, the officer nodded. Do you have a business plan? Elena had handled this too. 15 pages of projections showing break-even within 10 months and net profit of $15,000 monthly by the end of year 1. The numbers were compelling in their precision. Interest rate will be 8.5% annually, 5-year term, Sarah announced. Acceptable. Adam nodded without examining the fine print. The key was securing funding and beginning his journey toward financial freedom. At home, he told his wife about the loan, but modestly understated the amount. I got approved for $15,000 to get started with Elena. Small amount. We'll pay it back quickly. Christina looked up from the legal briefs she was reviewing at dinner. $15,000. What will that cover? Initial expenses, permits, equipment deposits, legal fees. I see. She didn't probe further. Adam exhaled with relief. His wife had no idea about the true scope of the operation that a week later, Elena drove her brother around town, scouting restaurant locations. They settled on a strip mall space in a middle-class suburb. The foot traffic seemed decent, rent relatively affordable. Prime real estate, Elena enthused, walking through the space. See all these residential developments? Built-in customer base. The landlord, a middle-aged man in a wrinkled suit, readily offered concessions. For serious tenants, I can work with you. Standard rate is $28 per square foot annually. For you folks, I'll do $24. Adam was pleased with the savings. Elena appeared satisfied too, though for different reasons. The landlord was her contact, and she was collecting a finder's fee from every month's rent. Billed out consumed $25,000. Equipment for the restaurant, another $20,000. Remaining funds went to initial food inventory and a marketing launch. The restaurant opened in November under the name Quick Bites Express. Initial days showed modest traffic, 40 to 50 customers daily. Average transaction was $12. Daily revenue barely covered operating expenses. Takes time to build a customer base, Elena reassured. First few months are always challenging. December brought new problems. Traffic dropped to 25 customers per day. Utilities, employee wages, food costs, and rent consumed all revenue. By months, and they faced a $4,000 shortfall. Temporary growing pains, Elena explained. Winter is always slow for restaurants. Spring brings more foot traffic. Adam supplemented from his own salary, but funds were critically tight. By January, accumulated losses reached $12,000. Then Elena proposed a brilliant solution. Adam, we're thinking too small. One marginal location can't generate profits. But if we open a chain of 3 or 4 restaurants, economies of scale will make the whole operation profitable. The logic seemed sound. Franchisors indeed recommended building multiple units to optimize costs. How much capital would expansion require? Maybe $150,000 for 3 additional locations. But the returns would be exponential. Adam was overwhelmed. Where would I get that kind of money? You own property, have steady income, Elena reminded him. Banks love financing expansion of proven concepts. What if it doesn't work? It will work. I have connections and experience. We just need sufficient investment for the concept to reach critical mass. Through winter, Adam visited 4 different banks, securing loans under various pretexts. One approved $75,000 for business expansion, another $50,000 for equipment upgrades. A third bank provided $25,000 for working capital. The fourth offered a $25,000 personal loan. Total borrowing reached $175,000. Monthly payments totaled $4,200, more than his take-home pay. Don't stress, Elena encouraged. Once the restaurants hit their stride, cash flow will cover everything automatically. But the second and third locations proved even less successful than the first. Elena selected sites in declining strip malls where she received kickbacks from desperate landlords. Foot traffic was minimal, competition fierce. BY Summer combined monthly losses from 3 restaurants reached $18,000. Adam turned to payday lenders to cover operational shortfalls. Interest rates at these places hit 400% annually, but alternatives had vanished. In July, a debt collector called their home phone. "Good afternoon. We're calling regarding past due obligations of Adam Thompson." Christina answered. The man's tone was professional but firm. "What obligations?" she clarified. "Business loan at Metro Bank, $75,000 balance. Payment is 30 days overdue." Christina noted the bank name and amount. After ending the call, she retrieved from their home safe a folder containing family financial records and began analyzing the situation. The picture was devastating. Over 6 months, her husband had accumulated debt across 7 different banks and 3 payday lending companies. Total obligations exceeded $200,000. That evening, she calmly asked her husband, "How much total debt have you taken on for the business?" Adam attempted deception. "Maybe $40,000 total. Just temporary cash flow issues. We'll be profitable soon." Collectors called today. One bank alone shows $75,000 past due. Her husband paled but continued deflecting. "Just a processing delay. I'll make the payment tomorrow." Christina didn't pursue the topic further. She'd confirmed her suspicions and could patiently await developments. Events accelerated rapidly. In August, Patricia approached her son with an offer he couldn't refuse. "Son, I've decided to help your business. I'll take out a home equity loan and give you $50,000. Adam tried dissuading his mother. "Mom, that's risky. What if something goes wrong?" "What could go wrong?" Patricia seemed puzzled. "You have 3 restaurants operating. Elena says business is booming." Elena had indeed been regularly updating Patricia on project progress, showing fabricated financial reports and discussing growing revenues and expansion plans. "By year-end, your profit will exceed $100,000, she'd promised. "Within 2 years, Adam will own the largest restaurant chain in the metro area." Patricia believed and secured a $50,000 home equity line of credit. The money reached her son's account in September. The funds evaporated within a month. Half went to the most urgent past-due payments, the remainder to operational expenses of failing restaurants. In October, Elena announced discovering the solution to all problems. "I know an investor," she told her brother. "He's prepared to invest $500,000 in our restaurant chain." "Seriously?" "Absolutely. But there's a condition. We need to demonstrate commitment by investing another $100,000 of our own capital, like an entry fee for serious players." "I don't have $100,000. But you have equity and business assets. Private lenders will finance against your restaurant equipment and fixtures." Elena produced a contract with the supposed investor, an official-looking document on letterhead with corporate seals and signatures. The investor committed to providing $500,000 in working capital once partners demonstrated readiness for serious growth. Adam reviewed the contract superficially. Legal language was foreign to him, but the basic terms seemed clear. This investor is legitimate, owns restaurant chains in 3 states. He's got 40 locations and wants partners for regional expansion. In November, Adam began approaching private lenders. Interest rates reached 25% annually, but options were exhausted. The first lender provided $50,000 against restaurant equipment, the second $35,000 against inventory. The third issued $25,000 with Patricia's personal guarantee. By December, Adam's total debt exceeded $300,000. Monthly payments reached $8,500, more than double his salary. Elena kept reassuring. Just hold on another month. The investor is finalizing paperwork. Money comes in January, and all problems disappear. Patricia gave her son her final savings, $15,000 accumulated over decades of teaching. Son, I believe in you. Soon you'll be a successful businessman, and I'll be proud of your achievements. January brought serious collection calls. Agents phoned daily demanding immediate payment of overdue balances. Christina calmly documented information about debt amounts and delinquency timelines. Her husband's financial collapse was becoming increasingly clear. By year's end, total debt reached exactly $300,000. Adam was approaching nervous breakdown, but still believed his sister's promises. Meanwhile, Christina prepared for the decisive phase of her plan. The trap had closed. Now she just needed to wait for the moment when her prey would walk into the snare willingly. July heat made staying in Patricia's cramped apartment nearly unbearable, but Adam, Elena, and Patricia were too absorbed in discussing their fateful strategy to notice the stuffiness. Collection agencies called multiple times daily, threatening asset seizure. High-interest private loans were consuming the family's remaining resources. Listen carefully. Elena leaned across the kitchen table where family law printouts were scattered. All our problems stem from one person. Christina has been holding you back since day one of your marriage. Adam wearily rubbed his forehead. Recent months had aged him dramatically. Deep lines creased his eyes, and he'd lost significant weight. What does Christina have to do with this? I made my own decisions. Did you make decisions in an atmosphere of constant negativity from her? Patricia interjected. Remember how she resisted the business idea? She created toxic energy, programmed you for failure. Elena nodded, pulling a folder from her bag. But here's what matters most. You have a way to solve all financial problems in one move. How's that? Divorce, little brother. When marital assets get divided, all debts automatically split 50-50. Adam looked skeptically at his sister. How does that work? Simple math. State family law is crystal clear. Debts incurred during marriage are considered marital obligations subject to equitable distribution along with assets. Patricia retrieved a bottle of wine from her cabinet and poured 3 glasses. Son, think rationally. Your marriage became a burden long ago. Christina never supported your entrepreneurial efforts. Just constant doubt and criticism. Now you can free yourself from the wrong wife and cut your debt load in half. But how can Christina be responsible for debts she didn't create? Doesn't matter who physically signed the paperwork, Elena explained. What matters is the obligations arose during marriage. Under state law, they're marital debts, so liability is shared. Adam downed his wine, processing the information. What if she refuses to pay? She can't refuse. A court order isn't a suggestion, it's legally binding. If she resists, they'll garnish her salary. Patricia patted her son's shoulder. You'll be free of this woman and half your debt. $300,000 becomes $150,000. That's manageable. The plan seemed so elegant and effective that Adam wondered why he hadn't thought of it sooner. The next day, he scheduled consultation with an attorney. He chose a budget firm. Funds for expensive legal advice had vanished. Attorney Robert Stevens, a young man with questionable credentials on the wall, heard the story and nodded confidently. Straightforward case. In divorce proceedings, all marital property gets divided equitably. Same principle applies to marital debts. What if my wife objects? Irrelevant. Law is law. Debts incurred during marriage are marital obligations. Could a prenuptial agreement affect the division? Prenups typically address property distribution. They generally don't impact debt allocation. Adam left the consultation relieved. He paid $500 for the advice and departed with firm resolve to proceed. But first, he needed to set the stage. He couldn't simply come home and announce divorce intentions. He needed cause, justification, marital conflict. Adam began nitpicking his wife over minor issues, criticized her cooking though he'd previously enjoyed her meals, complained she didn't prioritize family time though he himself worked late managing failing restaurants. "Do you even care about our marriage?" he snapped one evening. "You come home, bury yourself in work, won't even talk." Christina calmly looked up from case files she was reviewing at the kitchen table. "What would you like to discuss?" "I don't know. Our lives, our plans, our future." "What future? You have $300,000 in debt. Collection agencies call daily. What plans are realistic?" Adam exploded. "There you go with the negativity again. Always finding ways to tear a person down." "I'm not being negative. I'm stating facts." "Facts? You found fancy words for it, but supporting your husband through difficulties, that's not your style." Christina returned to her case files without continuing the argument. This response infuriated Adam further. "Exactly. You don't care about my problems. Your problems became our problems when collectors started calling our home phone. Then divorce me if I'm such a failure." "Good idea." The answer came so quickly and calmly that Adam was startled. He'd expected tears, pleading, attempts to save the marriage, but his wife treated the divorce suggestion like a routine business proposal. Late July, Adam made his final decision. He called Elena and reported his readiness to act. "Smart move, little brother," his sister celebrated. "File tomorrow. The sooner the better." The next morning Adam went to the county courthouse. Following advice from Elena and Patricia, he'd accumulated $300,000 in debt and immediately filed for divorce. The plan seemed perfect. Maximum obligations with minimal assets meant his wife would inherit more liabilities than benefits. The courthouse clerk, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, processed the paperwork without unnecessary questions. "Joint petition or contested filing?" "Contested. I'm filing unilaterally. Grounds: irreconcilable differences, breakdown of marriage." "Any minor children?" "No. Property and debt division will be determined by the court." The clerk stamped the petition and scheduled a hearing for 6 weeks later. "Your spouse will receive service of process and may file a response or appear at the hearing." Adam left the courthouse elated. Phase 1 complete. Walking to his car, he called Elena. "It's done. Papers filed. Court date in 6 weeks." "Perfect. Now we wait for asset division. Soon you'll be free from both the wrong marriage and half your debt." "What if Christina hires a good lawyer?" "Won't matter. Law's on your side. Marital debts get divided. It's automatic." That evening Adam solemnly informed his wife about the filed petition. "I filed for divorce today. I think it's better for both of us." Christina nodded without visible emotion. "When's the hearing?" "September 15th. "Understood. I'll need time to prepare my response." "What kind of response?" "Financial disclosures, asset documentation, income statements, standard divorce paperwork." Adam smiled smugly. His wife had no clue about his brilliant strategy. After her husband left for work, Christina went to their bedroom, opened the safe, and retrieved the prenuptial agreement folder. The document signed 4 years ago would now become her ultimate trump card. She reread the crucial provision. In the event that either party during the marriage incurs financial obligations without written consent of the other party, such obligations shall be deemed individual liabilities and shall not be subject to division upon dissolution of marriage. Her husband had never obtained written consent for any loans. Moreover, he'd concealed the true extent of borrowing, understating amounts by huge margins. Christina photocopied every page of the agreement and returned the original to the safe. Plenty of time remained before the hearing to prepare an airtight legal strategy. The following weeks involved intense preparation from both sides. Adam gathered income documentation, compiled lists of marital property, and consulted with his attorney about trial tactics. Elena regularly encouraged her brother with phone calls. "Don't worry. Everything will work perfectly. In 6 weeks, you'll be free with manageable debt." Patricia also voiced support. "Son, you made the right choice. That woman was never suitable for you." Meanwhile, Christina researched case law on similar matters, consulted with law firm colleagues, and assembled documentary evidence to protect her interests at a week before trial. Adam received a summons specifying exact time and location for the proceeding. Joyful anticipation consumed him. Soon the nightmare would end, and he could start fresh the evening before court. Elena visited her brother to review strategy one final time. Remember the key point: debts occurred during marriage, so they're marital obligations. No exceptions under state law. What if the judge asks difficult questions? Answer honestly. You borrowed money for family welfare, for business ventures that would have benefited the household. Your wife knew about the loans and didn't object. But she did object. Not officially. She never filed legal prohibitions or contacted lenders. So she tacitly consented. Patricia prepared a celebration dinner for her son, honoring the anticipated victory. "Tomorrow begins your new life," she declared, raising a champagne glass. "The life of a free and successful man." September 15th morning, Adam woke in excellent spirits. He wore his best suit, groomed carefully and styled his hair. Court appearance required projecting confidence and respectability. Christina prepared methodically without drama. Conservative black suit, understated styling, minimal makeup. She carried a thick briefcase of documents. "Ready?" Adam inquired. "Ready." They rode to court in the same car, but remained silent throughout the journey. Each was absorbed in private thoughts. The family court building greeted them with crowds in the lobby. Divorcing couples, attorneys, witnesses, court officers, typical scene for a weekday morning. The courtroom was modest, seating perhaps 50 people. Behind the judge's bench sat a middle-aged woman in judicial robes reviewing case files. "Thompson versus Thompson is called," the bailiff announced. Adam and Christina took front row seats. Inside, Adam felt euphoric with anticipated triumph. Judge Susan Rodriguez reviewed the case materials and opened proceedings. "We're here for dissolution of marriage between Adam Thompson and Christina Thompson. Petitioner, state your position." Adam stood and delivered his prepared statement. "Your Honor, I request dissolution of marriage due to irreconcilable differences and breakdown of marital relationship. I also request equitable division of marital assets and liabilities pursuant to state family law. Respondent, your position." Christina answered calmly, "I don't contest the dissolution. Regarding asset and liability division, I have a specific position based on our prenuptial agreement." The judge looked up from documents. "Prenuptial agreement? I don't see that in the file." Christina removed the original agreement from her briefcase and handed it to the clerk. The agreement was executed 4 years ago with proper notarization. Judge Rodriguez carefully examined the document, making marginal notes. "Petitioner, did you execute this agreement?" "Yes, I signed it, but I don't see how that's relevant." The judge continued studying the agreement, paying particular attention to the debt liability clause. Respondent, please explain paragraph 15 of the agreement. Christina stood and read clearly. In the event that either party during the marriage incurs financial obligations without written consent of the other party, such obligations shall be deemed individual liabilities and shall not be subject to division upon dissolution of marriage. Do you possess written consents for debts incurred by petitioner? No, Your Honor. Furthermore, petitioner concealed the true extent of borrowing from me. Adam attempted to interject. Your Honor, but these are marital debts. By law they should be divided. Petitioner, the judge said firmly, state family law does provide for equitable distribution of marital obligations. However, prenuptial agreements constitute specific contractual provisions that supersede general statutory frameworks. Adam's legs buckled. He slowly collapsed into his chair, feeling his world disintegrate. "Ha, idiot! Now you'll pay back half," he declared, laughing in court, unable to comprehend the unfolding disaster. But when the judge continued speaking, the husband became whiter than walls. According to the prenuptial agreement presented to this court, Judge Rodriguez continued, financial obligations incurred by petitioner totaling $300,000 constitute individual liabilities not subject to marital property division. The courtroom seemed to spin before Adam's eyes. $300,000 of debt remained entirely his responsibility. No division, no relief from half the obligations. The court orders marriage between Adam Thompson and Christina Thompson is dissolved. No marital assets subject to division have been established. Debt obligations totaling $300,000 remain individual liabilities of Adam Thompson pursuant to the prenuptial agreement. Christina quietly gathered her documents and headed for the exit. Adam sat motionless, unable to process what had occurred. "Petitioner, do you have questions for the court?" the judge inquired. Adam shook his head. No questions remained, only the realization that he'd walked into a trap he'd signed himself for years earlier. 30 minutes later, Christina left the courthouse as an officially free woman. No debts, no obligations, no ties to a failed marriage. Adam departed an hour later after the courtroom emptied. Elena waited outside with an anxious expression. "So how did it go?" "Great," Adam answered bitterly. "Everything went exactly as planned. Just not our plan." The explanation about the prenuptial agreement and its consequences left Elena stunned. "How is that possible?" The lawyer said agreements don't affect debt division. The lawyer was an incompetent fraud, and I was a trusting fool. Patricia greeted her son at home with celebration cake and champagne. Learning the trial results, she silently returned the treats to the refrigerator. The following months became genuine torment for Adam. $300,000 in debt crushed him from all directions. Collection agencies demanded immediate payment. Banks initiated foreclosure procedures. The failed restaurants had to close. Equipment sold for pennies on the dollar. Proceeds barely covered the most urgent obligations. Elena vanished from town, escaping loan sharks she owed for assisting her brother. Her final call came in November. "Adam, I'm sorry. I thought everything would work out. I have to disappear too." Patricia lost her home to the equity loan she'd taken for her son. At 68 years old, she found herself without housing, surviving on Social Security and renting a room in a boarding house. "Son, I believed in you so much," she wept while packing. "I thought you'd become a successful businessman." Adam declared bankruptcy 6 months post-divorce. Proceedings stretched 2 years, during which he surrendered every dollar earned to creditors. He lost his distribution company job due to wage garnishments, making employment pointless. He survived on odd jobs, lived in a rented room on the wrong side of town. Meanwhile, Christina earned promotion to partner at her law firm. Freed from marriage obligations, she focused entirely on career advancement. Her salary reached $180,000 annually. A year after divorce, she purchased a downtown condominium, paying cash from savings accumulated through years of successful practice. The former spouses encountered each other only once, by chance at a shopping center. Adam was working as a stock clerk at a home improvement store. Christina was selecting furniture for her new condo. She appeared elegant and composed. He looked exhausted and prematurely aged. "How are things?" she asked politely. "Getting by," Adam answered without making eye contact. "I'm glad to hear it." They had nothing more to say to each other. 2 more years passed. Adam continued paying down debt remnants. working multiple jobs simultaneously. He lived in a single room, economizing on everything including meals. Patricia died of a heart attack before turning 70. Stress from losing her home and watching her sons collapse had destroyed her health. Elena resurfaced in another state after 3 years. She worked retail at a department store, rented a studio apartment, lived under an assumed name. None of the story's participants found happiness. Everyone faced consequences from choices made. Christina alone avoided catastrophe, though she had little cause for celebration. Partnership demands consumed increasing time and energy. Personal relationships remained elusive as career obligations monopolized her attention. Sometimes during late evenings in her empty condominium, she wondered whether victory over her husband justified 6 years in an unhappy marriage. But no answer could change the past. The story had concluded. The trap had closed. No one lived happily ever after. Such is life's reality, where every decision carries a price and every victory demands sacrifice.